Hey everybody, it's Jasmine. Today I wanted to do another update to the Christchurch terrorist attack. Today we're going to be looking at the possible sentencing for the perpetrator because something like this hasn't happened in New Zealand for 30 years, and the previous mass shooting, which wasn't a terrorist attack but it was a mass shooting, was in 1990, and the man who committed that crime, he killed himself. No, he was shot dead by the police, so he didn't face a trial or anything like that. So the sentence that this perpetrator could get is it's really unknown at this point. So on stuff.co.nz they did an interesting article discussing what the possible sentencing could be and what the possible charges would be for the perpetrator of the terrorist attack. So they talked with a law professor from Auckland University. So basically whatever the perpetrator gets as his sentence will be a first in the country. You know, we don't know what it will be. The longest sentence that somebody has had in New Zealand is 30 years. We had a person who shot and killed 3 people and shot a 4th person, and they received 30 years. And usually what happens in New Zealand is that you serve your time concurrently instead of consecutively. So like, let's say you get 3 life sentences, you would serve them all at the same time, because New Zealand is more focused around rehabilitation than say other countries like America. We're sort of more in line with European countries like Sweden and Norway and England and stuff like that. So in New Zealand we do have a terrorist act that you can prosecute terrorists under, but that's more focused on people that are working in a group who are laundering money for purposes of terrorism, basically. So, and that nobody has been charged, nobody has been successfully convicted under that law since its introduction. So that would be the first time if they did choose to go down that route. But the professor at Auckland University, he said that he would expect that they wouldn't choose that path because he's a lone person or working in a very small group, so it might not really meet the conditions of that law. So possibly we're looking at him being convicted for 50 murders. It could change depending on if more people die, and then obviously I would expect that he would also be charged with, the attempted murder of all the people that are injured. I don't know if they would, do attempted murder for all the people that were in the mosque at the time, because in his videos he did say that he intended to burn the mosques down in an attempt to kill everybody. So we really don't know at this point, but it seems unlikely that he would get out of jail free, basically, because in New Zealand we have this law in which it's usually applied to repeat sexual offenders. So if you have somebody that's like a pedophile or they're a sex offender and they are a repeat offender, then they will be given a sentence where they might have 10 years non-parole, but then they can apply for parole, but they won't get released unless they have proven that they aren't a risk to the community. So obviously if you have a sex offender that is a repeat offender, then they'd really have to show that they've changed their ways to be able to be released. Otherwise, they could be locked up basically forever in theory, and that is basically to ensure that there aren't any more victims, because if somebody is committing crimes and they are refusing to change their ways, then it's ridiculous to put them on the street again just so that they can hurt somebody else and then be locked up again. That's kind of the idea behind it. So in the article they were talking about if that law could be applied to this perpetrator, and I think that there would be an interesting idea, and I think it would probably be on the safer side, because if he was let out after a certain amount of time but he's still, a massive racist, then all he's going to do is he's going to go out and spread more hate, and he might not even commit a violent crime again, but he's spreading hate speech and all that sort of garbage. So it wouldn't really be right to have him in the community. But on the other hand, if you want to think about rehabilitation, then in theory he could totally turn his life around, but he would really have to prove that, wouldn't he? So could he spend the rest of his life in jail? He could. Possibly. We don't know. We just don't know at this point in New Zealand. It doesn't happen like that, but it could. Like, this is huge, and I think the last thing that people would want is for any sort of leniency to be given to him, because not only has he murdered 50 innocent people, but he's also encouraged other people to do the same with what he's written and the video that he put out there. So basically he's done more than just kill people. He's spread fear all over New Zealand, and he's torn families apart, and he's just out here trying to ruin everybody's lives. And it doesn't stop with this event. It keeps on going in his writings and just in his infamy. So yeah, it'll be a wait and see type of thing, but at the moment they are holding him on one count of murder, but that is basically just to keep him in jail while he awaits sentencing for whatever crimes for the police to do their investigation, basically. Yeah, so it'll be an interesting time in New Zealand, and it'll really set a new precedence in New Zealand. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is that on the donation front in New Zealand, there has been $6.3 million donated to the victims of this terrorist attack, and New Zealand has a population of 4.7 million people, so that's at least $1 per person, and that is just really fantastic. I think that that it really just shows that people, they do care, and I'm proud of that, although obviously it's still really difficult to think about the type of hate that is in some parts of the community. I mean, it's and I think that's what all New Zealanders are feeling. But lastly, I'd like to say that in these times, it can be really difficult to feel okay and to sort of understand, where to go from here. And I would just like to recommend that if you can, to go outside and say hi to your neighbour and get in amongst the community. Just go for a walk and be amongst people, because it's times like this where you can feel really lost and you feel really like your whole world is it's not what it was, and that's when we need to get together. And New Zealand's particularly good at that. We had the earthquakes in Christchurch, and everybody got out and helped each other, and this is what we need to do, because there's a lot of people that are have been directly affected by this. So many families, we might not be able to talk to them and say how much we feel for them, but we can get out there in the community and bring the community back to what it was, a safe place where people can go out and do, live their life, and pray where they want and believe in, whatever God they want to believe in, and that, they'll be safe doing so. And the only way we can do that is by having, good everyday New Zealanders going out and, being friendly and doing, the things that we did before. But at the same time, it can be really difficult. So if you do, need to take time by yourself, do that. But I really would recommend getting outside of the house, because you can just get stuck inside and, all sorts of thoughts running through your head. And, so the sooner that you can get out, I would really recommend that, get in touch with your family, hug somebody, to be in touch with people, the people that make up the community, because that man tried to tear us apart, and we're not going to let that happen. So that's it for me today, guys. I want to do a video on some of the stories from some of the people who were directly affected, because there's a lot of stories of heroism and just stuff that makes you people who have stories that we should listen to, instead of listening to the shit that comes out of that guy's mouth, basically. So that's what I want to come back with. But so that's it. I hope that everybody takes it easy and takes care of themselves and takes care of their neighbours, and stay strong. Kia kaha.